Good afternoon, everyone out there in YouTube land. My name is Jared, and this is my channel, Mazda-B3K. This video, we are going to be troubleshooting a blower motor that just quit. So without further ado, let's get started. If you have visited my channel before, you will know this vehicle. If you haven't, this is my 1997 Ford E-150 Econoline van. It is a Starcraft conversion van, which basically means the inside has a bunch of customization in it. But this part of it, the engine bay, is very much a standard Ford 5.4 liter 2-valve Triton setup in an Econoline. So we're going to do some testing first, but just to let you know, your blower motor's here. It is hanging out behind the battery, and our power connector for it is right there. We're going to need to wiggle that guy out so we can do some testing. But let me show you what's going on right now. Okay, so one of the conversions that was done is this does not have a rear blower motor. Well, not a standard one. There's not a Ford motor and blend door. It's a specialty unit that was made out of Illinois or Indiana. Anyway, we're concerned about this. So as you can see, we're set to high, right? But we're set to off, so we shouldn't hear anything right now. If I go to vent, I should be hearing something, anything, because you'll notice, well, seriously, this doesn't work in accessory mode. All right, so check it out. We are in the run position, so everything's energized. Currently off, which is fine, so we shouldn't hear anything out of the front or the back. But if we go to vent, we should be hearing the front blower going full tilt. And I know at least the bottom half of this switch works because the rear will turn on. But it does not matter what position you go to, this thing's dead. I know, like I said, this switch is working. I can swing it over to normal AC or max AC. The compressor will turn on. And if you're going down the road at highway speeds to where you have a little bit of airflow coming from that, you can feel cold air coming out. So the compressor is running, it's doing its thing, but we have no flow from a fan at all. It just died yesterday. So that's what's happening. And what we're going to do to troubleshoot is we're first going to make sure that we're getting 12 volts to the fan whenever we move this switch over to vent, normal, basically any position but off. We want to see that the fan is getting 12 volts, period. Because this is dictated by a blower resistor. So the fan is always getting 12 volts. And then depending on which resistor you go through, the fan is, the speed is controlled by how much power the resistor pulls. That's how it works with Fords. So TLDR, we are looking for 12 volts on that connector. Doesn't matter where this is, doesn't matter where this is, except for off. We want 12 volts. And if we see 12 volts, we got to replace the blower. So let's see if we can get 12 volts. Unfortunately, I can't get a great angle on getting this connector off because there's a battery in the way. But you just have to believe me when I say you got one ear and you got to kind of wiggle the connector out. All right, I got it. All right, so there's our connector right there. It is a 2-pin connector, so you got a ground and a hot, basically. So we can take our multimeter and set it to volts, and we'll see. I probably need to get my back probe pins in, but yeah, probably. just don't like those because they're really flimsy and fiddly. Yeah, right now we have nothing, which is what I would expect because I got everything turned off. So I'm going to point you guys over here at the meter, and I need you to tell me we're getting 12 volts whenever I turn all the accessories on. All right, here we go. All right, I lied. I'll be able to see too. But at this point, I have accessories on. The fan should be in the low position. We should see 12 volts. And there you have it. So we are definitely getting 12 volts out of the connector. So the fan is getting power. And as I said, its speed is controlled by the blower resistor. And even if that resistor was completely and totally fried, generally what happens is either you get low or high on your fan or something along those lines. And I mean, we can check the connector at the resistor, but even if it was disconnected at the resistor, there would be no resistance. So what would happen is it wouldn't matter which fan speed you moved it to. It should just blow at max speed. And obviously, we're getting nothing. So next step, regardless of what we want to do, is the battery has to come out because that's how you gain access to the blower motor, and that's how you gain access to the blower resistor. So let's go ahead and get this battery out. All right, so in my setup, it's a 13 millimeter to get these guys off, but I have non-standard battery terminals. So I don't remember what the standard would be. I think it's like a 12 millimeter or something. Because this vehicle is in metric, if you did not know. All right, I'm gonna take these off. I find that my rings get in the way. All right, so let's take the buzz off. And let's go ahead and get the ground off. Okay, ground is off. Positive is off. So the last thing we need to do is on this side of the battery where my fingers are is the battery hold down. That's going to be an 8 millimeter. Get that out of the way, battery comes out. Oh, that's fun. Now, of course, you probably figured out that even if we do a repair, it's going to be a little annoying to try to test it because we got to put the battery back in order to test. You know, just that's the fun things you have to deal with when you're working on a van. Looks like we got it. Yep. You can see this is a very long hold down bolt. Okay, and now we can lift the battery out. do pay attention you don't lose your hold down block along the way. So that'll be in the back. Get this out of the way. Okay. This is aforementioned hold down block. All right, let us bring you in so you can kind of see what we're working with. Okay, again, blower motor. And then this guy right here that my finger's just sitting on, that's the blower resistor. And to fully get at that, you have to take the battery tray out. Those are 14 millimeters. Honestly, I'm gonna go ahead and take the tray out anyway. It'll make taking the blower motor out easier. So we have, take it out here so you can see. There's 14 millimeters that need to come out. Get those guys out, tray comes right out. So now that the tray's out, we have good access. By the way, this is what you gotta do to service your headlight. If you need to service your headlight, this is how you service your wiper fluid tank if you need it. Now we have good clean access to our, you can see we are connected. Good clean access to our blower resistor. I mean, we're gonna have to kind of get this out of the way, but otherwise we have pretty good access to our blower motor. And if you needed to service your starting solenoid, that's over here. You can get to it over here. You can get to some of your AC stuff right here. And there's a bunch of different things you can get to once you take this out. So it's good to know. We're gonna go ahead, and I don't think our problem is here. I think our resistor is fine, even without testing it. These do go bad, but generally what makes them go bad is just use. And this thing has less than 100,000 miles on it. So I'm not feeling that this is bad. I think our problem is here. So I'm gonna go ahead and take that out. These are, I wanna say 8 millimeters. You have 1, 2, 3, and there's a 4 lurking right there. Get those out. You're gonna need to pull this little air inlet out, and then this should pop right out. Alrighty. So you can see I've got all 4 screws out. I pulled this guy loose. So now you can see we can try to get this out. I am praying that we do not have to remove the AC thingy, because if so, that's going to be really, really sad. It's kind of looking like that might be a thing. That's not good. The other thing I did is I disconnected the wiper line. Right up here, just to get that out of the way. But let me see what it's going to take to try to finish sneaking this out, because if you have to somehow if you have to drain the AC system to get the blower out, that's a sad state of affairs. Let me see what I can do here. All right, as you can see, I got it out. What you got to do is you got to pull your connector out of the way, because it's going to try to catch on the disc, and then you have to shove this just as far as you can over this way, and then it's going to be tight. You're going to have to muscle it a bit, but it will move and it will come out. Barely. Yay Vans. So this is what's weird about this. I've never had one die where the bearings were still okay. See how you're not hearing weird noises or anything? Bearings in this are fine. The squirrel cage is fine. It's actually in pretty good shape. It's always really tricky to try to get this retaining washer off. I never can do it. So the replacement I bought already has a squirrel cage. I mean, it was 50 bucks with a squirrel cage. You can't beat that. All right. So victory there. And if you're ever curious, you can look up in there and you can see where your temp door is. Not your temp door, your fan door, I think it is. There's a door in there that is going to open and close. It's vacuum controlled. That separates you from normal AC and maximum AC. So if you want to poke your head in there and look at that, it's worthy. And if you think that your vehicle has lived a long, dusty life, it might be worth your while to kind of poke your head in there so you can get a look at the, I think this is called the evaporator in here, because this van's old enough, it doesn't have a cabin filter, right? So what can happen over a long period of time is that this guy gets completely clogged up with junk, and then your AC cooling efficiency goes way down. And then it doesn't work real well anymore. So something to think about if you're struggling with AC and you don't have a Freon leak or something like that. Okay, so now to put the new one in. All right, let's get it prepped. All right, this is from O'Reilly's. It is a Murray PM4638. Do pay attention because there are two separate blower motors that are offered under an Econoline, one for the front, one for the back. They are different. Their wiring is different. So make sure you read the fine print. And I managed to get this one with a squirrel cage already on it, which is very nice. And we already have our connector, so we can stare and compare with our old one, make sure that connector is good. And it even came with a crush gasket, which that's nice because not all of them do. Because I didn't show you on the old one. Let me go grab that real quick. But there is a crush gasket on it. It's just crushed to it right there. And what happens is if they don't include one, you have to very, very carefully peel this up and try to use it again. Oh. Uh-huh. Look at that. Wonder if some mice got in here, peed on stuff. All right, so how this works. Oh, that's a little bit different. So this one, it plugs straight into the motor. The connector shape looks about right. Let's look at this. So the question is, will this lock onto the other side that's in the vehicle? Let's see. Yeah, looks like it will. Let me show you. Come on, you can do it. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah. Yep. It'll go. So as long as the pins have contact, we should be fine. That'll work. So what we're going to have to do is we have a choice of either laying out our crush washer or crush gasket, whatever you want to call it, against here and then shoving the blower unit in, or we put it on the blower unit and then shove the whole thing in. But we kind of have to visualize a little bit before we do it because this is pretty delicate stuff. It will tear. And if you're in a pinch, I have absolutely done this before. You can lay down just a ring of RTV and jam it in there. But if you do that, you want to make sure you have a pretty clean shot because otherwise RTV will smear everywhere. So I think I'm going to go ahead and lay this on the unit here. See if I can get this on here without it breaking. A little bit of stretch, but not a lot of it. Get this over. And you'll notice that our gasket here is designed to line up in a specific spot. See that? So we want to find that on the housing side and make sure that we get that lined up appropriately. So I'm going to do that now. And then when you go to jam it in, you just kind of have to jam it in. So speaking of RTV, this is the stuff, room temperature vulcanization cream. Sometimes it's called gasket maker. I just put down a dab in a few places to help hold this foam seal in place. So shape-wise, I've got it lined up, but none of these grooves or holes line up with the actual grooves and holes. So yeah, not sure what to do about that. You know, I'm going with this, but thinking about it some more, what I probably should have done is just transferred over the old one. I'm gonna guess it was a multi-purpose foam gasket and it doesn't really work. I'll give this a few minutes to tack up and then I'm gonna try to shove it in there. One other thing to mention is there is this doodle flopper. This is your air intake and it slides around the motor housing, and then one end plugs into a hole in the motor housing. The other end is going to plug into a tube that you can see down there next to the blower resistor connector. So make sure that you don't forget that and put that back on, or things are not going to work for you. I guess if I was feeling froggy, I also could take my 12-volt source and I could tap these pins and try to make the fan run, but I think I'll just go ahead and get it installed. Maybe I'll do it. I don't know. But anyway, let's get this in. All right, it's tacked up. We are gonna try to get this in here. Let's see what happens. This is probably not going to be very pretty. Where does that flat need to go? Okay, there is actually no side of this that is flat. Great. All right. So I guess we need to line it up just with some guide pins. What are we catching on? Aha. Of course, that's already pulled out. Very good. I do not want to break this squirrel cage. Actually, what really needs to happen . Oh, I need to be careful because that is yeah. You don't want to nick those wires. That is huge. Okay, that's gotten pinned. Oh, very good. I believe just sliced through my, oh wait, no, that's an actual joint. Okay, good. I did not slice a hole in it. That makes me feel better. Now I shove this down over here. See what that does. Something's gonna have to give. I don't know how I got this thing out. Everything is catching on everything. Alright, after a few failed attempts, what I figured out is there are 3 8mm bolts along here that hold this canister in place. And once you get them out, you can wiggle it. And I'm hoping that will give that last little bit of room that I need. Get this stinker installed. Because, yeah, this is kind of annoying. Let me check on this guy. So this is going to go in kind of something like that, which means we need to orient kind of like this, something thereabouts like that, so that we fit into that. In fact, I'll go ahead, put this guy back on. Just slides over. Do want it past the connector, so let's get this through. Just kind of wiggle pop this back in. Okay, that looks good. Yep, sure. So a little something. Come on, stinker. Oh, it's close. Okay. Alright, I gotta get it past this. There it goes. Oh, we were caught on that. Well, so let's see, does this catch on all my other alignment pins? Let's see. Flashlight. Well, I got a pin there. So I think it goes like this. That locks in 2 of the pins. Yeah, I think that's how we do. So let me get some bolts in there. I have no clue if the foam seal actually kind of stayed where it was supposed to stay. It looks like it slid around. Let me see if I can push that back around. Something like that. Get this started. All right, I'm gonna get this in, see how we look. Okay, so I dropped one of my screws. It fell into oblivion over here. I'll probably find it when I sweep in a couple of months. But 3 out of the 4 is good enough. As you can see, this is in. Kind of don't like, I would prefer this to be rotated a little bit more, but then the alignment pins would not align at all. So this is what we got. And that was entirely not fun. What I'm gonna do real quick, just because I want to test, is I'm gonna throw my battery tray back in. I'm gonna put the battery back in. I'm gonna reconnect the battery and then test it, see if it works. If it does, great. You know, I'll tighten this dryer canister back up and put all this other stuff back. If it doesn't, I don't want to do all that mess and then, you know, has to take that thing back out. So let's see what happens when we put some power on it. All right, moment of truth. Let's see what we get. Oh, listen to that. We have fanage. It's pointing at my feet because the vacuum's depleted, but we have a fan, ladies and gentlemen. So my prediction was correct. Had a bad fan. Never seen one do that before, but there you go. So this is a successful repair. So I'll take the battery off and put everything back together correctly, and we're good. There you have it, guys. Everything is back together as it should be. You see we got our extra connector wire there. I went ahead and fixed that with some fresh electrical tape, reconnected that, and we're good. So I'm gonna call this a good repair. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for this episode where we successfully troubleshot, diagnosed, and replaced a bad blower fan on my 1997 Ford E-150 Econoline van. If you found this video interesting, if you found it entertaining, if you learned something, please consider like, sharing, and subscribing. It does allow me to grow the channel and bring you more content like this. Please also leave a comment. I like to read them, I like to reply to them, and I do like to learn from them. And lastly, guys, I make mistakes, so you don't have to. I'll see you guys next episode.